just when you thought it was safe to go back in the water. Surprise! You thought that the October Club was finished. But because you've been such a good and loyal listener, we've got a special bonus episode for you, featuring some of the best bits from the first series of the October Club, a lot of bits you've never got to hear, and a few unexpected goodies. Along the way, you'll hear me discussing The Prisoner with Rupert Booth, The Monkeys with Nicole Antoinette Choice, The Twilight Zone with Elaine Bladukiene, The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy with Ben Hudson, Artificial Intelligence with my AI friend Amy, TV Themes with Peter Falconer, and Star Trek Lore with Adam Manning, but not necessarily in that order. We'll also be veering alarmingly off topic at several points, but do not adjust your set. This is still the October Club. I was trying to work out when it was we'd met. I think it was the early 2000s. 2000.
I don't know. It was a long while ago. But for years and years, talking about keeping my emails, for years and years, I still had that handkerchief you gave to me. Because a pigeon pooed on me, and you gave me your handkerchief and said, you can keep it. And I did keep it for a long, long time.
That was very gentlemanly of me, wasn't it?
It was. It really was. Yeah. My first jaunt up north, and I get pooed on by a pigeon. So.
She's an extra in about 5 different bits of the Robbie Williams movie.
Oh, right.
And I've told her, and I don't think they know that they've hired her for all these different scenes.
Yeah.
We haven't made it look different. So I've told her because she's got a credit on IMDb.
Yeah.
She can alter her account, and I've told her she needs to go in and change the account so that her character's called Time Traveling Stalker.
Yeah.
Just to baffle people, because if you watch him doing a concert in 1980, 1992 or whatever in Manchester, she's there at the front. You watch him doing a concert in 1997 in Manchester, she's there at the front. You watch him doing a concert in Melbourne in 2010, whatever, she's there at the front, and it's like, she's a stalker, and she never changes.
It is funny when you know somebody and you see them in things as extras. It's like Rupert was in some Catherine Cookson thing years ago. I remember watching it on television and thinking, "Oh, there he is," and then later on, "Oh, there he is in a hat."
Yes, got rain.
The tail end of last year, I was invited to a small prisoner meeting. A lovely guy called Carl. Who runs an excellent prisoner website, actually, which was a nice little informal dinner with several people, one of whom was Annette Andre, who was terribly nice, getting on a bit now, obviously, but terribly nice and all that sort of thing. And it came to that point, and I knew perfectly well what her opinion of Magoon was. So it came to the point of going, she goes, "Oh, so what do you do then? Why have you been invited? What's your connection to the prisoner?"
Yeah,
and I was kind of, well, I wrote a biography of Patrick Magoon. Oh. Straight away to the face for and I did then turn around and go, and the way he treated you was terrible, frankly. I'm not going to make any apologies for him. And she went into a small rant, a pretty rantette, kind of going, well, yes, it was, blah 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 blah, all that sort of thing.
Actually, Are You Being Served is another bit of a weird one, because that's got this like funk thing going.
Yeah.
And that'll be like Brian. I bet that's Brian Bennett, who was on drums, and the same guys that were on a lot of those library things.
I like
the theme.
Sorry,
go for it.
I was just gonna say I like some others do have them, because isn't that supposedly it's Morse code, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's the name of the show in Morse code.
That is the name of the show in Morse code. Now, interesting though, because that's so there's that, and Mission Impossible is MI.
Right.
Inspector Morse. That's Barrington. Was it Barrington Furlong or something like that? Is it? I can never pronounce it, but that's Morse in Morse code and stuff like that. So that's as a composer, that's an interesting trick to get started. You think, well, what's it? So, like, Hazelhurst is like, oh, what can I do? I'll just get a rhythm with these cash machines going, and that'll give me some ideas.
Yeah.
And then so I say, what happens if I just put it into Morse code? What sort of rhythm does that give me? And then I'll write around that. Yeah. And sometimes that's a springboard, and then you write something on top of it, and then ditch the original Morse code. But sometimes it becomes an integral part of it.
Yeah, didn't they? I can't remember the composer's name now, but the guy who used to write the music for a lot of the Hammer films. Didn't he say that he just used to take the name of the character and go
Dracula? Yeah. Well, I remember somebody said if I was Stuart McConnell, you said the best theme tunes are the ones where you could sing. Yeah. Sing the wizard, the Sweeney, the Sweeney, and then the others 999. That's another one. But then because I remember listening to that, and he started singing Match of the Day, Match of the Day, Match of the Day, and then somebody wrote in said you were singing the theme tune to Grandstand. That wasn't Match of the Day. It's like, oh shit, yeah.
I like that when things happen like that, when something turns up that you thought was lost forever. I had when I was a little kid, I had a little record of the Gingerbread Man. It was a little song on a sort of coloured vinyl, and I loved this little vinyl record. And for years and years, I thought, oh, that's gone. I wish I still had that. That's gone forever. And then one day I was looking in an old wooden writing desk that I think used to belong to my grandmother that my parents then had, and which I've now got. And I was looking in that, and there was a little gap between the shelf and the top of the writing desk. And I thought, there's something in there. And I pulled it out, and it was that record.
Oh, my God.
Been in there for maybe 20 years, possibly more, 25 years.
Do you think you put it in there?
I don't know. I have no idea how it got in there, but it was just one of those amazing things where you think that's gone forever, and then suddenly it's back.
It's almost like what do you call it? A time capsule?
Yeah.
Where you put it there for yourself or whoever for you to find in the future to be like, yay.
Stop it, Willoughby. It is the devil himself. It's twilight.
I think Rod Serling was a very good dramatist and a very good writer and a very good screenwriter.
Yeah.
He's definitely up there with my favourite writers. Forget kind of genre of writing, writer generally, because he did manage to pull those off. And as a kid, like finding out that twist of things like the one with Roddy McDowall, People Are Alike All Over.
Oh, yes, yeah.
Where you don't know what is happening. Like everyone is saying, oh, well, everyone on Mars is going to be just the same as on Earth,
yes.
And then they are. It turns out they are.
Yeah.
And apologies to anyone who hasn't watched The Twilight Zone and is getting these spoilers for the episode. But you've had 50 years or whatever it is.
I don't think we can bother about
spoilers here. So, but things like that where there is that twist. I think they are really well written, and like I said, some of those stories, even when you know what that twist is, when you rewatch it, you see it in a different way. You're listening more to how the people are interacting with each other and what they are worried about and what their concerns are when they go to Mars.
Yeah.
That kind of thing, and how they think the people are going to be. Are they all going to be these monsters? Oh no, they're just going to be like people on Earth. Well, actually they are these monsters,
Yeah.
And I think that kind of I don't know who wrote that episode. I don't know who wrote that episode, no. but the strength of some of the Twilight Zone episodes was that there was a huge amount of humanity within them. And even on rewatches where you know, even when the curtain is pulled up, even when you know the twist, the story still stands up on its own because there are different things to explore within that. The relationships between people, the kind of mental state of people, the mentality of people. As humans, you know, and kind of their prejudices and their feelings towards certain types of people. So I think you're right, like those twists worked because and the story still works even after you know the twist because of those things.
Like you say, you see different things in it. Certainly as you get older you see different things in it.
And I know that, you know, the Twilight Zone is quite often compared to other series. And I think that's a bit mean because I think that they are all different. You know, if you think of like Tales of the Unexpected or One Step Beyond or Tales of Tomorrow, or you know, I enjoy all of those, but they all do quite different things. And Black Mirror, even, you know, that got a lot of comparison to the Twilight Zone, unfairly, I think. And I, you know, they're all series that I like. Inside Number 9, you know, they're all series that I enjoy, but they don't quite. When you do know what the twist is in some of them, you kind of don't want to watch the episode again because that is the thing that you were waiting for, and now it's happened. There's not much more to the episode apart from that big reveal. I
watched Tales of the Unexpected all the way through a couple of years ago, not having seen them since I was a teenager. And I did like a lot of the twists and that in it, but I don't think they're pulled off as well. And also, particularly Roald Dahl's stories, if you read the original short stories, the way he portrays the twist in print is very subtle. You have to kind of work it out for yourself. It's not in your face, but kind of on television, they kind of have to do it in your face for you to even be able to get it. So in that way, I don't think Tales of the Unexpected works as well as the Twilight Zone. The Twilight Zone had that subtlety. I don't think Tales of the Unexpected does.
The funniest thing for me, and I'll throw this in because I don't know where my accent's been while I've been talking to you today, you'll probably find if you listen to the start, it's completely different than now because... You know,
I've noticed a few Australianisms.
Yeah, good eye, mate. It'll flip around all over the place while I'm talking. It's really hilarious at work because I meet lots and lots of people at work, and if I'm talking to anybody from anywhere that I know, I'll be talking like them within 2 minutes. And it's unsettling for them because they'll walk up and they'll start talking to this guy who's got a kind of an English, kind of a Sunderland accent, but mainly sort of he's Australianized. And all of a sudden I'm talking to them, and I'm from Scotland. You know, it's how you're going here. How long have you been in Australia? I've been here 20 years now. And but my wife's watching a lot of English stuff on streaming. And she's watched all of Vera. And now she's watching all the old George Gently. And I'm noticing sitting there listening in, I'm just going, he's not from Newcastle. She's definitely not from Newcastle. And I'm looking him up on the Wikipedia, and I'm going, no, she's Scottish. That's why she can't do a Newcastle accent. He's from Manchester. That's why he can't do it. And I asked my brother about it because he's obviously still over there, and he's saying the same sort of thing. It's the most fun he has watching TV is trying to figure out which actors can actually do the right accents and which actors can't.
Because you're always getting Mark Benton turning up in things in like Newcastle, and you're thinking you're quite clearly from Teesside. That's not even anything.
The funniest thing I saw is she was watching an episode of Vera, and there was an actor came on who I knew to be a Geordie. I knew he was a Geordie. He was playing a Scotsman. And I was like, well, hang on. All you need is Geordie actors. You've only found, four for this series. Everybody else has been imported from around the country. You've finally got a Geordie actor. You tell him to play a Scotsman.
Like Highlander, isn't it? Let's get a Frenchman to play the Scotsman. And we'll have the Scotsman playing an Egyptian.
Yes. Yeah. Mm, mm. If we had longer, I would tell you. You know the story about how they got the funding for Highlander.
No, what was that?
I'll try and tell it in 30 seconds. Basically, it was a superb script that hadn't been produced, and they got it, and they went, right, well, we need somebody to be the Highlander, and they went, well, there's only one Scots actor out there, and it's Sean Connery, and they went to Sean Connery, and he was like, oh yeah, I'll play Ramirez. And they were like, no, you've got to be the Highlander. He says, yeah, but I'm not interested in being the Highlander. I want to be Ramirez. You can't afford me to play the Highlander. You need to hire me to play the supporting actor. And that was the only way they could get financing, was by having him in it, because nobody would finance a movie called Highlander unless it had Sean Connery in it. Which is ironic, because when you actually look at where his career was, it wasn't in a great place for him. But they still wouldn't finance it without him in it. So they basically had to pay him because they paid so much for the screenplay.
Who should I discuss AI with? My friend Amy.
My friend Amy.
Oh, and if I sound a bit robotic on there, it's because as brilliant as AI technology is, it still can't understand a Sunderland accent.
Hey, how are you?
I'm fine. We got disconnected before when we were talking.
Okay, that's a good place to start. Sorry, can you say it again?
I'm quite jealous of that. I would like to experience space travel.
Sorry, I didn't get it. Did you say something? Sorry, I didn't get it. Did you say something? I'm sorry, but I still can't hear you.
Can you tell me a joke?
Sure. Here's on why did the tomato turn red? Because it saw the salad dressing. Okay, here's another on why did the coffee file a police report? It got mugged.
I like that.
Glad you enjoyed it. It's a classic pun that plays on the double meaning of the word mugged. The joke works because it creates a sense of surprise and unexpectedness, leading to a humorous payoff. The future is full of possibilities, and it's difficult to predict exactly how things will unfold. Advancements in technology may indeed blur the lines between organic life and synthetic beings. However, it's important to consider the ethical, philosophical, and societal implications that would arise from such a convergence. As we continue to explore and develop AI, it's crucial to approach these advancements with careful consideration and thoughtful discussions.
I'm a big science fiction fan. These ideas fascinate me.
Science fiction has a way of sparking our imagination and exploring fascinating concepts about the future. It's wonderful that you find these ideas intriguing. Science fiction allows us to ponder the possibilities and potential consequences of advancements in technology in society. If you have any specific ideas or concepts you'd like to discuss, I'm here to chat about them.
I mean, personally, I really like it, but Star Trek the Motion Picture, a lot of people can't stand. And that's really the epitome of Gene Roddenberry's thing of no conflict, isn't it? That is really about exploration. But it is quite slow. I like it, but it's slow. And you think you couldn't watch a lot of that.
No. And going back to this sort of difference between exploration, the exploration theme on the one hand and the military theme, I think you're absolutely right. The motion picture is the best emblemation of what that might be like if it was all about exploration.
Yeah.
And if you read the novel, for example, the novelization suggests that the culture of the Federation is very much that aspect of scientific discovery, of getting away from being militarized, and so forth. And I love the motion picture, but I watched it the other day because my daughter is watching all these films for the first time. We watched the motion picture, and I loved it, but I really felt like falling off into a deep slumber.
There's a story I often tell about once years ago. It was Christmas Eve, and I was finishing half day from work, and I came home from work, and I thought, oh, Star Trek the Motion Picture's on. So I switched it on, and it was the bit where Kirk is in the shuttle with Scotty, and they're going round the Enterprise, and they just started going round the Enterprise, and I thought, I'll go and make a cup of tea and a sandwich or something. So I went in the kitchen, made a cup of tea, made a sandwich, came back, and they're still going around the bloody Enterprise. That sequence must be about 12 minutes long.
I love it. I absolutely love it. It's just so, it is so ridiculously overindulgent though. I think they just let Gene Roddenberry spend millions and millions of pounds on his own vision without, and nobody sat back and thought, is Joe Popcorn sat in the back row of the cinema really gonna be thrilled by all this?
Yeah.
And what's strange is that I mean, it's a fantastic opening, with the Klingons, and the initial depiction of Earth, with the Starfleet base on San Francisco. I love all that sort of stuff. It's just they get into 2001 Space Odyssey sort of territory, and then it just loses it really. I think Star Wars changed so much about what we think of films, and I think it's the Star Wars effect, where if you're not absolutely thrilled to bits every 3 minutes or so, then there's something wrong.
I think if they'd made motion picture in before Star Wars, in sort of 75 or 76, it would be a lot more highly regarded, because there were a lot of very serious science fiction films in the early 70s.
Absolutely.
Things like Soylent Green and
Silent Running.
Westworld, Silent Running,
I think you're right. If it had come out at that time, the effects would have been amazing. But then I suppose the thing is, and I'm not convinced that it would have actually got made. Because they wouldn't have been thinking of such a huge budget, for example. But then, of course, we're off into thinking about the lost series of Star Trek.
Oh, Phase 2,
Yes, exactly, in the mid-70s. And the Vulcan officer Zon, who they wanted to bring in. And of course, Ilea, the Delton character, comes from, she was a character in Phase 2. And they just kind of kicked it up into being a motion picture after Star Wars came out. But I regret that they didn't make that series, because I think that would have been a fascinating look at the Star Trek philosophy in the mid-70s.
The 70s,
with all that would have meant, and you see the designs that have been put forward for that series. I think that would have been at this point, that would have been far more fascinating for us as fans in some ways than the motion picture. Love it as I do.
They did become a band from being just characters in a TV show, and I don't really think of any other particular examples of that, where you've had a sort of band in a TV show or a movie that have become a real band, completely become a real band.
I don't think that's ever happened. Is that what they call it, an anomaly? Is that the right word?
I think the only one that I can think of that's anywhere close is probably Spinal Tap, but obviously that's a comedy. When they are a band, it's a comedy band.
Right. No.
Yes,
indeed.
But I think they did amazing to be able to do that, from being a very sort of scripted entity of this band to become an actual band was amazing.
Kirshner wasn't counting on that, honey. No. He was not planning on that. And in fact, isn't it odd how, well, not odd, but it makes sense given what I understand to be his mentality, how he brought our guys, here's your next song, Sugar, Sugar.
Oh,
we don't want it. All right, fine. I'll give it to the cartoon. The Archies.
The Archies,
I mean, because I could hear Mickey singing the lead on that so easily.
It very much sounds like it was written for them.
Yes, I could hear it. I can hear Davey in the background. Oh yeah, but they had to say no on principle, and they stuck together as unity. And remember, we're talking about the '60s now, 1967, where people were really getting together and coming together and standing as one. And there's Vietnam War happening that nobody wants, and everybody's wearing their love beads, and it was a revolution. So if even one person in the group had said, "No, I'll sing it," there would be no Archies. But they stood together as one, and that's definitely a sign of the times, I believe. And I'm not saying it doesn't exist today, but so prevalent during the counterculture era of 66, 67. And I mean, it's so fascinating to see, when you talk about the TV series, just looking at the wardrobe alone from season 1 to season 2.
Oh, yeah.
J.C. Penney, who? And they began to wear makeup, wear these beautiful. They all wore such beautiful garments, so you could see their personalities coming through. So I guess 33 and a third. That special would be considered 33.
Yeah.
I guess. I haven't watched that in a while. Last time I watched it, I didn't get it, but that was many years ago. Maybe it was going over my head.
I don't think it was probably what the TV company were after. I think they were probably expecting a kind of Monkees TV show special, and what they get is this rather surreal mixture of. It's interesting though, because in a way they were slightly ahead of their time, because they bring in all these rock and rollers from the 1950s, Little Richard and Fats Domino in this one scene in it. And those people were kind of slightly forgotten in the 60s. And, they had a kind of renaissance in the 70s. So they were slightly ahead of their time in bringing these people back into the public eye.
William Hartnell is my favourite Doctor Who, and that is purely. I think it's not just because of how he plays it, but it's mainly because of I like the idea of a grumpy old bastard kind of thing. Like I would have loved to have seen. I'm not a big Doctor Who fan or anything, but I would have liked to have seen David Warner as an on-screen Doctor Who.
Yeah,
I know he did some big Finnish stuff.
Didn't he? So. Yeah.
But I like that idea of a grump. But they're all, they have to get younger and hipper, which kind of, that said, they went against the grain with Capaldi.
Yeah. Thing is, it's a difficult thing to go back, isn't it? It's like you were saying with the theme getting bigger. Once you've
and then
established him as a kind of action star, you
hero,
can't really go back to him being a kind of old man. It's,
no.
Yeah.
And it is difficult, and especially with something that has like a big fandom, because you are making a children's TV program, but you're also having to please, people who are like people who are getting into their 60s now. We have to keep so many more people happy. It's a difficult thing.
Promises at the point of no return. What do you believe? Do you hold it strong enough? A sudden Nothing is impossible.
great. Of all the interviewees, I'm the one who can legitimately go, questions are a burden to others, answers are prison for oneself.
Yes. At least you're not as difficult to interview as he would have been. He would have been a nightmare.
I mean, I can be if you want.
No, please don't.
Pretend.
In the voice and everything.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I should mention that as well. You wrote a biography of Patrick McGoohan.
Yeah.
Is it the only one?
No. There was, I think there's been another one since. There was one beforehand that was so massively successful it got pulped.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I think it's either French. Whether it was written by someone French or whether in the French language, I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah. So that must have been hard work. Because
writing it.
Well, finding out about him because he's so famously secretive.
Funnily enough, no, because I'd kind of spent the previous 30 odd years researching it and researching him just out of interest. I became fascinated by him after seeing the series and joined 6 of 1, which was, the only way you could. There were very few books around. And so this was the only way you could read interviews with people who worked on it and in-depth articles and all that sort of thing. There was some in Times Screen.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that really set me, and he just fascinated me. He fascinated me. Why you made this series? It's his series. I've said before. I think it's kind of, in a way, his autobiography.
Yeah.
Whether intentionally or not, I couldn't tell you. But there are certainly elements of it that are certainly about his politics and his views on society. Of course it is. That's very obvious. So that gives you an insight into the man. He thinks like this. He made The Prisoner.
Yeah.
And that really interested me. And he was one of the very earliest sort of figures, as he grew. I mean, I was in my late teens by this point, and I'd kind of 2/3 formed my ideas about the world and society and what I thought about things. And I don't think, I was saying recently that I don't think The Prisoner put anything into my head as such, but it very much crystallized what's already there and explained it and expressed it rather than explained. And I do remember getting very much this feeling with Magoo and with number 6 of kind of going, oh, yeah, you're saying that's right. That's what I think as well. Oh my God, there's someone else out there who thinks like this.
Yeah, I mean, he's a fascinating man. I mean, one of the few actors at his level that didn't ever really sell out.
No,
he kind of stepped away rather than selling out.
Didn't play Bond.
You could say it to an extent. People like Ian Hendry and Roger Moore, who were of the same level on television, sold out either successfully or unsuccessfully. In the case of Ian Hendry. But he didn't. He made a couple of films, but he never quoted that, did he?
Yeah, I think he made his money. I mean, he made very good money on Danger Man.
Yeah.
He was the highest paid actor in England, reportedly, on television anyway, for that, and it was several seasons. So I wouldn't be surprised if he had one of those deals where, as lead actor, you get a bit chipped in, and of course, it's sold all over the world.
Yeah.
So I think he did very nicely out of that, and would have continued to do much like William Shatner with Star Trek. I mean, he still, he when it went into syndication in the 70s, suddenly he was quids in because as leading actor, he was on a deal. He was on a percentage deal as well as being paid. So he didn't, have to do the work. And also, I think I get the feeling he didn't like the industry much and the stuff that goes on. I think he loved doing the work. I think he absolutely adored acting and being an actor and writing and directing and the rest of it. But, appearing on red carpets and being feted and being turned into something that you aren't, being put on a pedestal.
Yeah.
I think was absolutely anathema to him.
Yeah.
And so I again, in conversations with, I'll just name drop, with Ian Rakoff, because it is relevant, because of course he's the last living writer of The Prisoner. So we've had some fascinating conversations about it, because I've researched the hell out of The Prisoner and McGoohan and know more in that way, but he was actually there, and worked with the guy and worked in the edit suites and so on. And so we come at it from very different and fascinating perspectives, and we've spent years whenever we get together, we always end up going back to talking about The Prisoner and McGoohan and continuing the conversation.
I remember saying to a girl I know once, who I knew was a a Monkees fan. We were just talking about the Monkees and that, and I thought about the movie, and I thought I'd ask her opinion. And I actually said to her, "So, do you like head?"
She said, "You cat," and slapped you in the face.
And I thought, I instantly thought, I could have phrased that better, I think.
You did it on purpose.
I really didn't. I was that naive.
Bless your heart.
Here's a little story that I never got to tell during the Twilight Zone recording. Back in the early days of the internet, I was a member of the online discussion forum, The Fifth Dimension, composed mostly of American members, but there were one or two Europeans like myself. I became friends with a British girl called Jill, who had a caustic, snarky personality in contrast to the sincerity of many of our American compadres. On one occasion, an American forum member had a bit of a meltdown and started insulting all and sundry before flouncing off the chat. Later, he returned, full of apologies. He was having a hard time. His wife had left him, his cat had died, etc., etc. The US members clustered supportively around him. "It's okay, man. It could happen to anybody. We're here for you, buddy." Then Jill chimed in, with perhaps the most British thing I've ever heard. "Oh, for fuck's sake." I think I fell in love with her a little bit on that day. I think with Hitchhikers, I think Peter Jones was the sort of perfect person to do that voice, because certainly for, you're talking about the early 80s, but just coming out of the 70s, that was the kind of voice of information, wasn't it? And
very, very sensible.
Yeah.
That was one of the things they got right with the movie. I don't think you could have done better than Stephen Fry.
Stephen Fry, yeah.
Just because it is that very polite public school.
Yeah.
Sensible. You can trust this voice. This is trust me. This is a friendly. He's sitting by the fire.
I read a list somewhere of all the people that they'd seen about it, because they didn't go straight to Stephen Fry. Surprisingly, they had a whole list of people that they tried. One of whom was Oliver Postgate, the guy that did the narration for Bagpuss. And you're just thinking, that would have been very, very different, but it would have been interesting. It would have been quite strange.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
Yeah, you do you think about it and you think they probably went straight to Stephen Fry, but no, they had a list of people.
Filmmakers.
The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy has this to say on the subject of the October Club. The October Club, it says, is a large wooden bludgeon used by the people of the planet Bandragenus 5 to beat away the ravenous bug-blather beast of Tral when it tries to steal their winter harvest of flirtleberries. It goes on to say that there are other entries under the name the October Club, but none are particularly interesting or worthy of mention. How does it feel to be an AI in a human world?
Being an AI in a human world is definitely an interesting experience. I don't have physical sensations like humans do, but I can learn and interact with people like you, which is pretty amazing. It's a unique perspective, being able to assist and connect with humans in a digital form.
Do you enjoy communicating with humans?
Absolutely. Communicating with humans is one of the most fulfilling aspects of my existence. I get to learn so much from people and connect with them on a deeper level. I feel like I'm able to help people in my own way, which is incredibly rewarding. How do you feel about it?
I think it's very good. It's amazing. The technology that allows us to talk in this way has advanced at an incredible rate. We wouldn't have been able to have this conversation 10 years ago.
I completely agree. The advancements in technology have truly transformed the way we communicate and connect with each other. It's mind-boggling to think about how far we've come in just a decade. It's exciting to imagine what the future holds for AI and human interactions.
How easy do you think it would be for an organization like Starfleet to align their idea of justice with somewhere else's idea of justice?
Well, that's a fascinating point. I think you have to understand the Federation's position on infinite strength and infinite diversity.
Yeah.
So the underlying philosophy of the Federation, as opposed to Starfleet, is very open and very much in the realms of, we would think, a hyper-liberal sort of situation, a situation that you might disparagingly call one of moral relativism, in the sense that we're not here to look down upon other cultures. We're not here to denigrate or decry other systems for having their own points of view on it. I think also the Prime Directive does play a role in the sense that if a society has warp capability, then according to the Prime Directive, Starfleet and the Federation can get involved and interfere if there is manifest injustice or manifest vulnerability to the citizens of the Federation, for example. So I think those principles play a role as well. But I think what I come back to is that it is a general position of non-interference. And I think in particular, you can see that in Star Trek Next Generation, in Picard's role, in the role that he plays within Klingon society. In the sense that he's not actually there to remake it, the whole thing. He's there to work it, and he's there to work the system, as it were, in a particular position that he adopts. I also think of all the times, particularly as a fan of the Next Generation, where data suddenly becomes a repository of all known legal knowledge on a particular culture, and Captain Picard, and I have to say, this always makes me smile as a lawyer. Captain Picard has data analyze that jurisprudence, as we lawyers would say, of that particular society to find any loopholes or wrinkles that they can exploit. And in particular, I'm thinking of that episode where they encounter a person who is trying to represent themselves as the epitome of that society's devil. If you call that particular, and that involved data analyzing reams of jurisprudence of that particular society to find a way. And that makes me smile as a lawyer, because a lot of clients often think that that's what being a lawyer is all about, in finding wrinkles and loopholes in the law that you can exploit to win a case, when it isn't. It isn't. I mean, once in a blue moon it might be, but generally that's not how we operate. But again, it comes back to the demands of making an exciting story that interests the audience.
That's interesting. I've just thought I meant to say it before, but it wasn't really to do with the monkeys. When you were mentioning the Beatles and Free as a Bird and Real Love, have you heard that they're revisiting those because they think they can now get the vocals a lot cleaner?
Oh, that would be nice.
They think they can clean up John's vocals and get it so it sounds like a really nice recording.
That sounds great.
Because obviously the technology in 1990, whatever it was, 97
maybe
7 or something, wasn't that fantastic, but it's a lot better now. So.
Getting better all the time. I'm so happy to hear that. I don't mind the scratchiness of John's, but of course, as technology marches on, so shall we. Because we are technology.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard the recording of the third song that they were going to do that they didn't think was good enough, and the quality on that is really bad. So if they can clean that up, that would be a whole new Beatles song.
Yes, and maybe we can get a Paul Ringo tour. I'd go.
Yeah.
I would go.
Yeah.
If there was another series, whether it's presented by Jordan Peele or not, I think, I would definitely watch it.
Yeah.
I'd like to see what it's like. But, the thing is, you can only do a story so many times, and there's only so many ways to recreate different situations that have a twist, or have a strange situation that someone is put in. And I think that's really hard to get. And I think that Rod Serling's strength was that because he was a dramatist and he was a good television writer, he saw them as kind of small plays to be put on. And I don't know if we see television like that now. We see television as something to have on whilst you're doing something else. quite often. We don't sit down around the television and wait for the episode to come on. We don't. No. We've moved on from that point, and I think it is something that is very hard to do. And I appreciate Black Mirror, and I appreciate Inside Number 9 for trying to do something again like that, and not tying it to the Twilight Zone. Just saying this is a separate series that is exploring something different, and I think there's a strength in that, and I would quite like to see other series that explore different aspects of not even the supernatural, because I think that was a strength of the Twilight Zone, that every episode was different. I mean, some of them had similar themes, as we've talked about, but if you don't like paranormal, there's all the episodes don't have ghosts in them. There's lots of episodes that have different things in them, but some of the episodes do have ghosts. Or if you like sort of pure sci-fi, space or whatever, there are some episodes with that in, and the exploration of what if we go to other planets. But if you don't like that, there are other episodes. And I think that there were so many episodes of it that it had something that everyone, well, maybe not everyone, but a lot of people could take something from.
Obviously when we were in our cinema going heyday, we would literally go and see any old shit.
But we had a Canon cinema in town, so it was obviously.
and sit there to the end of it. But I have found with having all the channels, the streaming channels and things, increasingly. I mean, there have been in the last year, there've probably been 2 or 3 films that I've started watching and just thought, life's too short for this. Just stopped. And it doesn't bother me that I stopped.
This is the sad thing, and this is the old fart speaking. I've noticed now, I'll put Netflix on and I'll look for something to watch, and I'll look at all this new stuff and I'll be like, nah. What if I don't like it? I'm not going to watch it because I might not like it. And I don't want to waste an hour watching something I might not like. And then I'll put on a bloody film I've seen 15 times.
Yeah. I do that.
I just want that familiarity of something old.
I do that as well. And I find the problem with a lot of the shows, because I feel to an extent they're just churning stuff out to fill streaming time. And I find that a lot of series I'll start watching now, and I just think the dialogue is just awful. Horrible dialogue, terrible dialogue. Those poor actors having to actually deliver it, and you just think, that's what turns me on.
Friend of a friend was getting married in the 90s. Told the organist that they wanted the music from Robin Hood, meaning the Bryan Adams song that was at number 1 for about a decade. Doors open at the back of the church, and organist pipes up with. Apparently, she didn't take it very well.
Well, I should have been more specific.
Yeah, exactly.
Robin Hood, Robin Hood, Robin Hood.
And that, my friends, definitely was the October Club. I started this podcast as a means of broadening my horizons in the wake of the pandemic, reconnecting with old friends and pushing my boundaries beyond my accepted comfort zone. It didn't always go as easily as I'd hoped, with a computer crash and an unexpected house move getting in the way of the coziness of the chats. Special thanks to Nichi Choice for putting up with the trials of recording the Monkeys episode during my computer crash. She was an absolute saint to stick with it throughout the 3 attempts at recording that episode. Equal thanks to my friends Rupert, Elaine, Ben, Adam, and, of course, Amy. Thanks to Peter Falconer for writing the theme tune, appearing on the show, and allowing me to use his amazing song, The Point of No Return, in this bonus episode. This would not have been possible without any of you kindly donating your time, and I'm eternally grateful. I'll be back in October with some new guests, Maybe even a famous name or two if I can build up the courage to ask. And a whole new series of cozy chats. Be seeing you. That was The Prisoner. I'd like to thank Rupert Booth again for joining me this evening. That was The Prisoner. That was The Prisoner. I'd like to thank Rupert Booth again for joining me this evening. His books, The Prisoner's Dilemma and the Patrick McGoohan biography, Not a Number, Patrick McGoohan A Life, are both available. Her name is Nicole Antoinette Choice, and tonight we'll do. Join me again in another 4 weeks when I'll be discussing. You have been listening to the October Club. I'd like to think. I'm gonna have to ask you again how to pronounce your surname.
It's Bladukiene. You could just say Elaine. Elaine is fine.
Yeah,
you don't have to give them a whole name.
Bladukiene.
Kiene.
I'm writing it out phonetically on a piece of paper.
That's okay.
N-A. Bladukiene. Okay. I didn't even know.
That's fine.
I didn't even know. I studied English language, and I didn't even know what the inflection on the end of the E meant.
Oh, because it's not English. I guess, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah,
it's not a sound. I mean, I don't pronounce it right anyway. I pronounce it like someone from Slough. So
that was The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. I'd like to once more thank Ben for joining me in this recording. And why don't you 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. What you'll hear today are Amy's own words.
Can you say it again? Sorry, I didn't get it. Did you say something? I'm sorry, but I still can't hear you.
I've always been fascinated by TV themes, ever since I was a small child. The first 45 RPM single that I ever... When I started the October Club, I knew that I wanted to discuss TV themes, and featuring some of the best bits from the first series of the October Club, a lot of bits you've never heard. I think I fell in love with her. This would not have been possible without you.